بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's your brother Najib here, and today here in DEEN Love we're bringing you another episode of the Brothers Club, one of the best and most amazing episodes. Truly I was looking forward to this episode, and we have special guests tonight in the house right here in the studio. On my right side we have the coach, the one and only who's been a regular here because he's such an amazing and a role model in the community. Emil Jihad, I like to call him Coach because he's such a mentor and a leader to a lot of young people here in the Twin Cities area, and we appreciate his works. On my left side we have Ustad Haroon, one of my best and favorite brothers in the community that I've known for such a long time. He's been moving around a lot, so we haven't been seeing him, but he moved away from us. So in the comments, tell him to move back closer to the Twin Cities area. But we have Haroon, and today we have such an amazing episode, which is Finding Islam. And these two beautiful individuals, we're hoping that they'll share with us their beautiful stories in their past, and we can also, from the rest of us, benefit from the struggles, the opportunities, the greatest of moments in their life that they went through. Hopefully today, in the light of the episode and the topic, we'll be able to benefit from them. So I have we have a few questions that we'd love to ask you guys, so we'll get it going as soon as possible. So the first question in Finding Islam is, Coach, we'll start with you. We always start with the right side. Coach, what was your life like before Islam?
Wow, that's a good one. Wudu billahi min shaitan rajim. Bismillah. Allahumma salli sayyidina Muhammad. My life was kind of strange, but I'm glad I'm at where I'm at now. I was born into a Pentecostal home, very, very religious home. I had to go to church 3 to 4 times a week. Very religious, strong home. And my mother's from Mississippi originally, from down south. My father from Georgia, by way of New Jersey. So very, very strict upbringing. My mom was all over us, 5 kids in the house. So we had to go to church all the time. Coming up through high school, I started getting into a lot of street activity and doing a lot of stuff, hanging out with my friends. And it was kind of different for me because dabbling with the street and then trying to wear that church hat on Sundays, it just wasn't working. There was a direct conflict. Yeah. And so I got into a lot of mischief, if you to say it in a nice way. Yeah. But it was a direct conflict, and I started seeing the hypocrisy of the church. And so I started looking for other things. So my upbringing was just kind of out there. It was wild. Yeah. And once I got to the University of Minnesota, I started hearing about some different things, and I started dabbling into different things, looking. I was seeking something. I was lost. So I had a very strong Pentecostal church upbringing.
So Haroon, what was your life like before Islam?
Before Islam, I grew up in a Lutheran family. My mom was the youth pastor at a church, and so I would go to church I would go to work with her like almost every day. Wow. As a kid. Wow. Because they had a daycare, and I grew up there, played basketball all the time there. They had a huge gymnasium, soccer balls, basketballs, floor hockey equipment, so I was busy all day playing there. And then growing up, I would always go to this Christian camp, and I would stay there for 2 months out of the year, and every day was, worship. Yeah. We had worship in different ways there.
You grew up in Indiana, right?
No, I grew up in Detroit.
Detroit.
Michigan.
Oh,
Detroit. So I grew up there, and then I moved to Indiana when I was 13, and my mom became like a associate pastor, but still a youth pastor. And just I would go to the church a lot. So that was.
Did you go to high school here, or did you went to high school?
Yeah, high school.
Indiana,
middle school and high school in Indiana.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just just went to the church a lot. That was my fun, going to the church.
So you both had an upbringing that you went to the church a lot, and your families were both religious oriented.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very strong Christian upbringing.
Yeah. Okay, which leads to our second question. Coach, we'll start with you. When was the first time that you heard about the word Islam, or like in general Islam?
I would have to say in high school, and again, just wilding out with me and my friends, and then one of my counselors, actually, I'll never forget this guy, Fletcher Cooley. One of my counselors sat me down and just said, "How many times are you going to end up in my office? You know, what's going on here?" So he just pulled a book off the shelf and just said, "You're going to read that, and I want an oral report and a written report within 3 days." And I was like, "Wait a minute, man, Mr. Cooley, I mean, I came here to seek guidance from you." He said, "You're going to find it in this book." It was the autobiography of Malcolm X, Wallahi, subhanAllah. And as we know, Malcolm was one of the leading figures in the African-American community.
Yeah.
And he went into the Nation of Islam, and he evolved to Sunni Islam.
Yep.
So Wallah is a huge gift from this guy, and he was a kafir. Wallah, non-believer, for those of you online that are looking at this. So he gave me the autobiography on it and challenged me to read it. I came back to him in 2 days with a verbal report, but he wanted both.
Written and verbal.
Exactly. So I read the book, and I just couldn't put it down. And this is the one, I think, narrated by Alex Haley. It's in paperback form now. It's online. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
But it really moved my soul. It kind of touched my soul. So that was my first form of seeing Islam as a whole. But I was focusing on the early part of his life, the gang life, the life of a gangster, and being in prison and Nation of Islam. I was just mesmerized by that portion. I didn't want to look at the second half of it, but I looked at that portion of his life because he had everything. He was well known in the streets, and he was an orator. He had the gift of the tongue. He could speak to anybody.
Speaker.
He could sell you a rock. I mean, the guy was like, that part of him was like, and I know Spike Lee redid the movie, but that was kind of, the book is always better, and so I read that book, and that pretty much gave me my dosage, that first dose. It put that piece of honey on my tongue, and it just made me like thrive. I want to know more. So that would be my first exposure. Time. Yeah.
But Harun, when was the first time you heard about the word Islam? Was it in Detroit, Indiana?
It was in Indiana, and it was 9/11.
No.
9/11. Nope.
No way.
Nope. I didn't.
Before that, you never heard the word Islam before.
I knew Muslims, where I just assumed Middle Eastern. we had this market in Detroit called Dairy Mart, and we would always go up there, and they were Iranian, but they were Muslim.
Yeah.
Yeah, So I knew they were Muslim, and they practiced different religions. I didn't know their religion was Islam.
Yeah.
It's the first time I heard it was 9/11, and.
So from the environment you were in, how did people perceive Islam, or like how was it like?
And that was 2001, so I was in Indiana.
Yeah.
And not very diverse in Indiana. So
never know that.
So so when I first heard it, as a 13-year-old or 14-year-old, I was very upset.
Probably tough, yeah.
Yeah. Very upset. I would like to think, at the time, that it was just, bad actors.
Yeah.
Doing that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the first time I heard it. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. Tough way to hear about Islam. We'll start with you this time, Harun. How then did you find your way into Islam?
So how did I? Well,
so from.
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah. From 2001.
Yeah.
Okay. And what were the things that kind of led up to becoming a Muslim?
Just, well, it's really just, I don't know, just going to college, years passed.
Yeah.
Going to college, five or 6 years passed. I started to have classmates. I moved to Minnesota 2005, and 2007, I started to have classmates who were Muslim. They were Somali, and we had this world history class called Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
and there was 5 small groups and 5 Muslims in the class. The teacher said, out of the 5 Muslims, they had to lead the small groups.
So it'd be in different groups.
Because we're talking about Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan.
Yeah.
And a lot of it's about Islam, so
of course.
the Muslims had to lead the groups.
Yeah.
So it was very interesting,
Yeah.
like learning their perspective, and we watched that PBS documentary about how people became Muslim and whatnot, and it was very interesting. Yeah.
Coach, what led from growing up, from reading the book to of Malcolm X to eventually, what were some of the things that led up to you becoming a Muslim?
Well, again, I got to take you way back. I'm an old guy, so we're talking high school. We're talking Fletcher Cooley, my guidance counselor. We're talking, 1983.
Yeah.
Okay. He puts this book in front of me. I read the book. I come back. I'm still wilding out with my friends every night. I'm hanging out with them, doing whatever in the street. But hip hop is prevalent in my community in North Minneapolis. So you have Nas, you got X-Clan, you got Public Enemy. You have all these guys that are on their airways. Wherever you turn and look, they're talking about hip hop. So with hip hop, at that time, in the mid '80s, late '80s, and as a lot of you already know, you can look online and see this stuff. You got there was one rapper in particular, like Chuck D and Intelligent Hoodlum, Tragedy.
Yeah.
And he had this verse in one of his songs, and they kept playing on BET. Wherever you go, you would hear this. He kept "Arrest the President" was the name of the song, and in one of the verses he kept talking about Al-Islam, read the Quran, and he kept referring to the Creator, Public Enemy, the Creator. Don't follow this, don't follow that. Listen to the Creator. They were talking about one thing, and it kept sounding off in my head every time I would hear the music. Is that the Creator, Tawheed, the Creator, Tawheed, one God. That's what they were all saying. So for me, it just made my consciousness rise a little bit higher. And at that time, you had what is called gangster rap and conscious rap. There was only 2 kind of raps. The stuff they're doing now, I have no idea what that is.
Very different. I don't know either, but I'm assuming it's very different than what.
Very, very different. So I don't. Again, as a disclaimer, I'm not a sheikh, and I'm not one of these people that ascribe to the music. I cut that stuff off.
Yeah.
But this is where it got me to where I'm at now.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah.
Because at that time, Public Enemy, they were talking about be conscious, know yourself, love yourself, and be conscious of what you're doing, Because at that time, police brutality was high, a lot of stuff going on. So I was into rap as a youngster coming out of high school. And so at that time, went on to the University of Minnesota. We had this BSA, Black Student Union, and we would make trips to Chicago because Minister Farrakhan, Louis Farrakhan, used to put on these things called Savior Day, and he would bring all the rappers to Chicago. So you had Common Sense, who's now Common, Public Enemy, Ice Cube. All these guys were just in the street hanging with us, talking about Islam. So I was more intrigued by that. So they, again, started stirring that process within myself.
So those are some of the key things that led up to
that. Touched my heart as a young guy. I mean, it's like, I'm standing right next to Flavor Flav, and he's talking about, yeah, man, listen to the Quran, read the Quran, stuff like that, And then like the guys there, they had these other guys that would do like security with them, SW1, Security of the First World.
Yeah.
They used to travel with them, so that was like impressive to see these guys like standing there doing security and they're reading Quran, stuff like that. So it's like that was an impressive move, but it wasn't enough. Like they say, to be black is necessary, but it's not sufficient. Yeah. You have to ascribe to be higher. So after making several trips, I want to say 7 or 8 trips to go down there, listening to Farrakhan, all this stuff, that wasn't good enough.
Yeah.
It wasn't good enough. Something was still missing. Mm-hmm. So I had to challenge myself again to start doing my own research, to do my own studying. And sure enough, I found Al-Islam via Nation of Islam. Via rap, via hip hop. You know what I mean? So it's like, you have all these rappers, Nas, Lakim Shabazz, Queen Latifah. They were all saying Islam, 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 but it stopped at a certain level.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? In Islam, we grow every day. It doesn't stop like that.
Yeah.
So you have to research, and especially all you young kids out there that are looking at this online, you have to research and read for yourself. Because growing up in a church home, the Bible was put in front of me. Okay, so you have to accept that as the truth.
Yeah.
A picture of a blonde-haired man is on the wall in every household and in every church.
Yeah.
With blue eyes. That's your God. Who is this guy? You know. So I mean, you can't refute that, or either your mom's gonna get real mad at you.
Yeah.
So you have to do your research, and that's really key.
So, Brother Harun, so when was it that you became a Muslim, and how did you become a Muslim?
So it was 2008, and I guess leading up to it, like, I had, my Muslim leader in the Iran, Iraq, Afghanistan history class.
Yeah.
She was in a lot of my other classes because we had the same major.
Okay.
So she was in like 3 or 4 of my other classes.
Yeah.
And one day, I have bad allergies, so I'm like sneezing, and some people are saying bless you, bless you, bless you. She's saying Yarhamakallah. I was like, what? and I'm like, what does that mean? And then I was like, oh, that's nice, God restore you, something to that effect. And then she sneezed. I say, so what do I say now? When you sneeze, she said, say Alhamdulillah. So I'm like, what is Alhamdulillah? Like, what is that? She says, praise be to God, Allah. I was like, just God? Like that's nice. That's beautiful,
Yeah.
And then she was in another class down the road. It was a night class, and everybody's getting dinner. And everybody's eating, except her. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna wait to eat because she's sitting right by me.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat in front of her. She's not eating.
Yeah.
So there's a break in the class, and I was like, yo, why aren't you eating? And she's like, I gotta wait till the sun goes down. I was like, sun's going down, you can eat now. And then she's like, no, I gotta wait till, it was like 9:30 or something. I gotta wait till 9 or 8. I was like, okay. And so I got talking about Ramadan and fasting. And that really intrigued me, and I would ask her a bunch of these questions and started hanging out with her friends. It would give me more information about Islam.
Yeah.
And it came to a point where I was asking so many questions that it was beyond their knowledge.
Yeah.
like, oh, you better ask somebody else about that.
Yeah.
And they're like, we'll get you a Quran. I was like, okay, that'd be great. And we'll have my friend take you to the masjid. They can answer your questions.
Yeah.
And so a long time passed. And then I go to Masjid Abu Bakr Siddiq.
Yeah.
And I meet Brother Abdullahi there.
Okay.
And Abdullahi Farah, and he's talked to me about Islam and stuff. Let me go back.
Yeah.
So they couldn't answer my questions. They were going to give me a Quran. They didn't give me a Quran. So I was starting to research online. And I knew I wanted to be a Muslim.
Yeah.
Because of what I was reading online. I was like, this is beautiful. I got to be a Muslim. But I didn't know how to be a Muslim.
Yeah.
So it came to a point where I was learning about Islam, but yet I couldn't call myself a Muslim because I didn't know what it meant to be a Muslim. So nobody taught me about the Shahada.
Oh.
And so I was reading about Islam, and I'm like, I believe it. And I'm working in daylight.
Yeah.
People are coming up to the desk where I'm working, and I'm just crying. They're like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, just allergies or something, like, yeah, I'm fine. And they're like, okay, are you sure? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. Suck it up.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta do something about this. I'm like, I was pressuring them, like, take me to the masjid. I need to learn more. Take me to the masjid. And they took me to the masjid Abu Bakr Siddiq, where I met Abdullahi Farah. And
wow, you and Abdullahi go that way back, huh?
Yeah, 2008.
Wow.
And
shout out to Abdullahi Farah.
he sat down with me, and he's like, after Jummah. This is after Jummah.
Yeah.
And he sat down with me, and he's like, Islam is this. He started,
he's
drawing stuff on the carpet, and this is the straight line. We believe this is the straight path, and over here is, the worldly stuff, and over here is the other religions. where Islam, we believe it's the straight path.
Yeah.
And we believe in one God. We believe in the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And, you know, praying 5 times a day. And he's like, this and that, breaking everything down. I was like, yeah, that's beautiful. I want to be a Muslim. He's like, you know, just think about it, you know. And he didn't know I was studying for a whole year.
Yeah, yeah.
And I didn't know how to be a Muslim. And he's
Yeah.
like, you know, yeah, if you want to be a Muslim, all you have to do is tell a Muslim one sentence, you know, just a few words. I was like, what do I have to say? You know, what do I have to say to be a Muslim, you know?
My goodness.
And he's like, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu Muhammad Rasulullah.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let me say it. I was like, he's like, no, let's stand up and do it.
Oh,
So,
you guys stood up in front of
he stood up in front of the people and said the Shahada right there.
Man.
Yeah, because, yeah, he's like, you know, think about it. He's thinking that's my first exposure to Islam.
Yeah, that's, he didn't know. Yeah.
But I was studying for a whole year.
Yeah. Man, that's intense.
Yeah.
Coach, how did you become a Muslim?
My experience.
Did you also know Abdullah Farah?
I know the brother, but not like that. SubhanAllah. My experience again came through hip hop, and I kept researching. And then there was another brother, actually, Bilal Abu Bakr, who was here studying. We were both at the University of Minnesota. He's originally from New York, and he Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. So he was a part of Imam Siraj's community.
Okay.
On Bedford and Bedford, Stuyvesant, and I forget the cross streets. But a Taqwa community in New York, in Brooklyn there, if you've ever been there, it's a very, very close-knit community. So when the brother graduated and went back, I stayed in touch with him, and he kept telling me, you have to read more. You know, I gave you some literature, I gave you some books, now you got to find for yourself. And I kept calling him, and we were corresponding back and forth. So one day he just said, you know, there's a brother that's teaching down in the park. Why don't you go down in the park and sit with him? Fareed Mustafa Zaki, I'll never forget this. And he was teaching us for years down in the park, Powderhorn Park, not far from here. Him and another brother, Shahid Nuruddin, and he had this program on KMOJ radio station called Voices in Islam.
Wow.
So, and now we're talking way back. We're talking mid 80s all the way up through the 90s. Okay. And then the brother passed away. May Allah, you know, illuminate his grave and give him the right words to say, inshallah, in the qabr. So this brother was doing dawah on through the airways, and then they were both coming and sitting with all of us college students in the park every Saturday and Sunday. So we were able to, he would give us a small qatr, reminders, and then we were able to bounce questions off him. So we sit there.
Before you became a Muslim?
This is how I accept this now.
Oh, okay.
This is how I accept it.
So this
I had the hip hop.
Yeah.
I was already making trips back and forth, but I needed somebody to teach me. I don't know how to pray. I don't know how to clean myself. Nothing. So this guy is like coming to the park, and so now I'm sitting in the presence with somebody who is a Muslim.
Okay.
A real Muslim.
A real Muslim. Okay.
Not these guys that are saying, you know, the white man is the devil, but he's signing my checks. You know, I don't understand that. You know, Nation of Islam, like I said, they were limited. They were very limited.
Yeah.
But now this guy is in my presence. He's in my hometown, and he's not talking about the white man is the devil. The white man is your brother. The yellow man is your brother. So when you go to the mosque, you will see this. You know, and again, Islam doesn't have color barriers.
Yeah.
You know, anybody. You go into any masjid and you can see all races and cultures. So again, we're sitting in the park. We're talking late 80s now, and this guy's teaching us every Saturday and Sunday. And if we wanted more, he invited to his house on Fridays. You know, when we got done with our studies, we would come over and sit with the brother. He would have his wife cook for us and everything. So I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And so he's teaching us. And then after a while, he just said, you know, at this point, I think I've taught you guys the 5 pillars. You know, whoever's ready to embrace Islam, step forward. And one brother just said, yeah, I'm ready. Let's roll. And so he came up. La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. There is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the seal of the prophets. Khalas. He said that, and he gave him a huge Quran, and he started hugging him, and I'm like, man, hold up, man. I got to get that too. You know, I want that. That's what I'm here. That's what I've been waiting for. I mean, the teachings is good, but that's what I want. I want to be in.
This is the pinnacle point, right?
Yes, we all started lining up one by one, and I'm telling you, I think at that time the Sheikh must have gave out at least 15 shahadas that day.
Man.
In the park. So, subhanAllah, it was beautiful because the park director recognized this guy as a good community figure and that he was trying to do good for the people. And we already know when you stand on your deen in Islam, Allah makes everything easy for you.
Easy.
And in fact, Allah says in the Quran, "O ye who believe, shall I show you a better commerce, a way of doing social interactions with the people to save yourself from doom." What is doom? The hellfire. So we believe what Allah says in the Quran is perfect. So when I read that and came across that in the Quran, subhanAllah, it was a done deal for me. And this guy was showing us different passages in the Quran and then showing us how to pray, how to make wudu, how to clean yourself, all this stuff. So I felt like I had the best, I had to take it. And that was the deal on the table for me. So I embraced Islam way back.
Through Brother Fareed.
Through Brother Fareed and also the brother who passed away. May Allah bless his soul. Brother Shahid Nuruddin, inshallah.
So, Brother Harun, after becoming a Muslim, how did your family, how did life change, and how did you feel in regards to all the other external features in your life? How did family, friends, how did they react to you becoming a Muslim?
Yeah, so my mom, like that, she's the most important person,
of course,
in the world.
Yeah.
So, so I told my mom the day I took Shahada, but
before that, she didn't know you were studying Islam, right?
Maybe not. But yeah, so she knew that I wasn't content with the Trinity being,
The format of
even before I learned about Islam, she knew I wasn't content about the Trinity. I knew that wasn't, the...
Something was going on with it, huh?
Yeah, I didn't believe the Trinity. Yeah. I believe in God, that was it.
Yeah.
And so, she's talking about, there's like agnostic, and there's different churches you can go to where they don't believe in the Trinity, and stuff like that. I was like, no, I need a peace in my heart. Something's missing. I need something there that's not Christianity.
Yeah.
Because I did the Christian thing, I need to try something different.
Yeah.
So I was learning about, different Hinduism stuff, but she knew that I wasn't content with being Christian. And so when I told her, she was happy.
The day you became Muslim, you called her.
Yeah, she was happy that I was happy. Yeah. And that's the first person I told. And I called her 3 times. The third time I actually told her. Because I took it at Juma time. So that's like 1 o'clock. I called her at 2. How you doing, Mom? Called her at 6. Hey, Mom, what's up? I called her at 3. She's like, hey, what's up? Why are you calling me so much? So I'm calling her. I'm driving my car and I had to pull over because I was crying because I was telling her.
Yeah.
So I didn't want her to be... I didn't want her to be upset, but I knew that Islam was the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the only person I cared.
Yeah.
That was the only person I cared.
So you didn't. By then, friends and like other people, they weren't too much involved. So.
Yeah. Well, friends and family, I was very close. I didn't want to offend anybody. I wanted everyone to be happy with me. So I was 22 at the time. So, like, I told my brother next, and then my sister, then my dad. But my friends found out because I was living with some of them. Yeah. And
how did your sisters and other siblings react?
They were fine, just a little confused. Like, we don't really know what that is.
Yeah.
But if that's what you chose, then I guess we'll learn about it with you. like we'll learn about it through you.
بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن بإسلامي وإيماني أضاء الكون وزمن